Welcome to the Dive In, a podcast where we go beyond the surface of the stories that captivate us. I'm your host, Kathleen. Let's dive in. Today, we are joined by Kat. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having
Hey.
me.
Of course. We've got a great conversation lined up about A Complete Unknown, so let's dive right in. And I'll start with a quick little non-spoiler synopsis. A Complete Unknown is the 2024 biopic of Bob Dylan. It follows the American singer-songwriter at the start of his musical career and follows him and his relationships through his rise to fame. Yeah, that's the movie.
Yeah, that was good.
I didn't realize how many Bob Dylan songs I knew. Um, I mean, I think at the very end, like they in the like credits, like right before the credits, they like said that he's like sold, or how many records did they say he had? Like 500.
I use a ton.
Yeah, he's a ton of records, and then that he's like the only artist to have won a
Pulitzer in literature.
thank you. That's why I have you here. It's not like I didn't just watch this. Uh,
I literally finished it this morning.
I finished it about 30 minutes ago. I feel like I should know that. Um, but no, I mean it was interesting just to see how he got to start, how he like really started with folk music. And I think that's like the entirety of his folk music career is what we looked at in this movie. He was I guess he was just 19. I don't think they ever say that in the movie, but he was only 19 when he first moved to New York City when we first
hmm
see him. Um, and he's clearly hitchhiking, gets there, and somehow can visit Woody Guthrie, who is also a very huge folk music a singer, songwriter. I mean, he did the song. They sang it in the very, very beginning. He said, "This land is your land."
Yeah, I'm not familiar with Woody Guthrie or Pete Seeger really at all. Like I've
I
heard of them, but like I don't really know what their music sounds like.
yeah, thought I knew a lot more folk songs than I actually do. Um, but yeah, the I definitely know this land is your land. I don't think anyone born in the USA would not know this.
For sure.
I think we had learned it in school because it's such a yeah like American song. Uh, but yeah, so he just strolls up and goes into this guy's I guess assisted living facility and yeah, just oh, I didn't even hear what happened.
My mic wasn't there for a minute.
Oh no.
Sorry about that. I just couldn't hear what you were saying, so I have no idea
Oh.
what you just said.
No, I was just saying it was interesting that he was just able to stroll up into his assisted living facility and everyone was
Right.
just okay with it. And he was there with Pete Seeger, who is also a huge folk singer-songwriter. Um, yeah, wish that was the case. Like, let me just stroll up on Taylor Swift real quick.
Right? Like, okay, I'm just gonna figure out what hospital he's in and just go. And they're just gonna be like, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you're like within that community of like music, like musicians and stuff, and like you've done enough like gigs and stuff to network, like they might be able to tell you, which is believable, but they literally made it look like he literally strolled up that day and walked in there.
Yeah.
Which may not be the case. That might just be movie magic. But yeah, and then he what immediately starts paying. I don't think this guy ever had his own place because he immediately starts staying with Pete Seeger.
Yeah.
And then from there he meets in the movie they call her Sylvie Russo. Her actual name is different and I don't think she wanted her name inserted in this, so I won't mention it. But he starts dating Sylvie Russo and living with her. And
Yeah.
I guess it was his place because they show him at it again. It was a
It
little
was
confusing.
it was hard to tell if it was his place or her place.
Yeah, yeah. I assumed it was her place.
Same.
Yeah, and he just starts living with her instead. I was like, wow, you wouldn't think he's the lead singer, you'd think he's a drummer. Uh, it's probably a bad joke. Uh, but yeah, so we see a little bit of their relationship. I mean, off the bat, she's gone for 6 weeks as a, I couldn't tell what she was, if she was an artist or a teacher. Maybe she taught art, I'm not sure. But she went to Italy for 6 weeks or something. And then during that time, um, is when he starts hooking up with Joan, the other uh, famous folk singer, who he sings with quite a bit.
He
Um,
does.
yeah.
One thing I find interesting about the character Sylvie is
Mhm.
that the, real life person that she's based on wrote a
Yeah.
memoir about like that time together called
Yeah.
A Free Will in Time. So I guess if you're interested in finding out more, because I don't want to say her name either, because I feel like she's made it pretty clear that she doesn't really want to be involved in this particular
Yeah.
movie.
Aspect of it.
Because she wrote this book, so I feel like if she was okay with her name being inserted in the movie, she would have given them,
Permission. Yeah.
permission. But if you're interested in more on like what happened, she did write a book about it.
Oh, okay, cool. I wouldn't, I mean, I wouldn't mind. I feel like as far as this movie goes, it was already a pretty long movie. It was almost 2.5 hours,
Just
but
long.
I do feel like there was still like a lot of uh information left out. Obviously, they were trying to focus on just like his career and how he was trying to break out of folk music, kind of break away from those who were just like controlling everything that he did. But like I did do a little bit of research and it said that like at one point he admitted in his 70s that at one point he was addicted to heroin. There's like a lot of psychedelics and stuff like that. I mean, it was the 60s. They were musicians. Of
Yeah,
it's assumed. But
it
yeah,
is.
it but like that was something that very much was not involved in this film at all. So they really did focus on just the relationships and the music itself. And I do want to like tip my hat off to Timothy Chalamet. I guess he agreed to do this movie about 5 years ago, before COVID, and then I'm sure it got delayed and delayed. But he was able to prepare for 5 years, and I mean, he sang all the music live. He learned how to play the guitar, learned how to play the harmonica. Like he did a really, really incredible job. Like I looked up videos of Bob Dylan talking. Like he did a good job of like trying to sound like him. Everything like a really good performance as far as that goes.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Also like because I did like research this because I was like I want to know because I knew that he sang everything because they made that pretty clear that he had like learned how to do everything and sing
Mhm.
everything. And so I was like, did everybody do this? And they all did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I
I
think
know.
is really cool.
Yeah. The guy, oh, let me find his name real quick. Okay. Boyd Holbrook, who played Johnny Cash, when he came on, I was like, ooh, that is like, he did an
Spot on.
excellent, like, just his voice alone, like talking. I was like, oh, that is such a good Johnny Cash. And then he started singing, and I was like, did he actually sing this? And they were like, yes, he did. I was like,
Good. Yeah.
okay, I got a new crush. Okay.
No, you and I literally did the same thing because I did that too because I knew that Timothy had sang, but like when Edward
Yeah.
Norton started singing, I was like, did he really sing this?
Yeah.
Yes. When like the girl who played Joan started singing, I was like, was this really her?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
I
gosh. Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, they all did really, really well. Yeah, I think it deserves, I mean, I think this movie is up for, I think I saw 8 nominations, and I do think it really deserved it just for the work in which like the actors put into it. Um,
Yeah.
like story aside, like just their ability to, yeah, to embody those real life people was very good.
Yeah. I am not a huge like dog. Wow. I'm not a huge Bob Dylan fan. So I wasn't like sure if I was gonna like this movie. Because
Same.
one of the reasons I don't love him is because of his voice, which is why
Mm,
most people like him, is because his voice is so unique, and I just
yeah.
think that it's not that good. But he has made very influential music, and that's just something that you can't like ignore. But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the film. So Timothy Chalamet made me like Bob Dylan for 2.5 hours. So
I mean, yeah, no, that's that tells you when you bleh. That's that's a sign of a good movie. There we go.
Exactly. Good movie, good acting. He
Yeah.
really like it really at some points does feel like you're actually watching like I know that it's like Timothy Chalamet, but there were certain points where I was like, this is Bob Dylan when he was like young.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like I actually had to go back and listen to Timothy Chalamet sing as Willy Wonka because I was like, hold on, like let me just compare their voices to see if he like really transformed it or if like he still sounds like himself. Nah, he sounded like Bob Dylan. He did not sound like our poor little Willy Wonka Timothy Chalamet. But yeah, no, I mean, absolutely incredible. Yeah, it's just sad what he's up against at the Oscars right now. I wish I could
Oh, I
say it was a
know.
better movie, but we all know that it's not. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I do like how like they brought Sylvie like in and out during I I feel like a lot of their relationship was focused on most throughout the movie, like as he was growing and like she walked away not once but twice because she like I think like the first time when they were playing at a festival she realized how big he is and how much people love him and she just I feel like she and I'm putting words in a character's mouth and in a person's mouth but like I just feel like she felt like this was bigger than her and that she wouldn't be able to compete. And so she left and then he kept coming back.
Mhm.
Um, and she finally like went with him again, but went through the pretty much the whole thing again. And she's like, I can't do this again. I thought I could. I thought like this is what I wanted, what I missed, and can't do it. And yeah, it was really good. I feel like Elle Fanning did a very good job. I mean, I love anything Elle Fanning's in, to be honest. She always does a good job.
She does.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, as far as the music goes, like they really did do such a good job. And like I feel like as far, I mean, I don't know, I guess I don't know that much Bob Dylan music, but I feel like they did steer away from a lot of the popular songs that like I would know off the top of my head. Like I was hoping they would play like Dust in the Wind and they didn't. Because I was like, that's the one song I really, really know. Like there's like the Pleased to Meet You that they play at the very end. I know that one as well, but it's yeah, I was really hoping they would play that one. But they did include some really good music and like showed him like veering into like the more like pop and rock style that he was very stubborn into playing. Like he could have easily just fallen in line, stuck with the folk music, stuck with the the shiny version that everyone wanted to put on TV in the 60s and decided that like, no, this isn't what I want to put out there. I do want to say like I kind of wish like as far as the movie goes like they would have included a little bit more like as to why he was so stubborn into playing that like was it because of the civil rights movements was it because he didn't feel like it was right to be this shiny version of himself. Like I kind of wish they'd explore that a little more. Maybe I just missed it. No, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on the same page with you. Um, I recognized most of the music. I knew going into it that because my favorite song by Bob Dylan is Knockin' on Heaven's Door, and he wrote that in
Mhm.
1973 for a movie. So I was like, okay, that's not going to be in the movie
I
because
do
it's
know that song.
yeah. I was like, that takes place in this movie takes place in the 60s. He wasn't at that didn't happen yet. So
Yeah.
like it wouldn't have made sense for him to sing a song that he wrote for a movie in the 70s, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I do kind of agree. I would have liked more because it kind of just felt like he just randomly decides, like, no, I'm gonna play this music. And it's like,
Mhm.
okay, that's great because everyone does change their sound from time to time.
Yeah.
But there it would have been nice to have a little bit more insight into like why he was so like, I have to play music that sounds like this and I don't want to do the folk sound anymore. Because
Yeah.
I Okay, so I watched half of the movie last night and then I watched the rest this morning. So
Yeah.
there is a possibility that I like kind of fell asleep and like don't remember seeing that part, but I don't know. It felt like it just kind of like there was like a shift in the movie and then all of a sudden he
Mhm.
was just like, no, never mind. I don't want to sing folk songs anymore.
Yeah, like it really did feel like there was like a shift like and there wasn't really anything that mark that shift. It just
Yeah.
felt like, he what was like Sylvie left, he went to Joan, Joan turned him away, and then all of a sudden he's just like, well, I don't want to do what everyone else is doing anymore. And it's kind of
Yeah.
like, okay, but why? Like it didn't even feel like those relationships like exploded enough, at least on from what we saw to make him feel that way. But it also the music doesn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It
Well,
was
and also like the whole Joan situation was his fault anyway. So it was like, I mean, I guess they were both
yeah,
kind of at fault, but it's just like, don't,
yeah. Don't play with people's emotions.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the only thing I could find on like Joan Baez, which I'm assuming is her real name, I don't know anything about Joan Baez, so like, don't come for me. I'm so sorry. I literally did not even know that name until I watched this movie, so I apologize
Honestly,
if that like
same.
upsets people. But what I did find out was apparently she didn't like hate him, but she was deeply hurt and disappointed by the way their relationship ended because due to his sudden fame, he didn't want to include her on stage during a UK tour. And I guess there was like a lack of communication. And that's why she had so much like animosity towards him, which
I mean,
is not communicated in the film at all, by the way, in
yeah.
my opinion.
No, not at all. Yeah, I feel like that would have shown so much more. And like maybe it just didn't make it into the movie because like we said, the movie is so long already.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the reason why it is so long is because they included like pretty much the full version of a lot of these songs. They probably didn't need to. They probably could have played a few verses here or there or a chorus and then cut from that song, but most of the time they sat there and played the entire song, which was very entertaining. I'm not gonna lie. It
Oh,
was like,
yeah, it was great.
yeah, I enjoyed it. But yeah, I don't know where I was going without that. But yeah, like it was random because we're like as soon as Sylvie left the second time in 1965, like he is in that hotel room and Owen comes to posse that he doesn't want to conform to and he's very much like I don't know, it just seemed off and it felt like one of those things where like that's when like I was like what about the drugs?
Yeah.
Like like we're in a hotel room, like your girl just left you. Like we can kind of assume what happened,
Yeah.
but no. It just felt like, yeah, like we always knew that he was kind of like against them, but I still really didn't know who they were other than like the big bosses. That was it. Like that's all
Yeah.
I knew. Like we didn't really see him struggle with them all that much. Like he would come in and do his thing, but they really didn't push back that much. So it seemed random that all of a sudden they were so mad that he wanted to go on stage and play this at a folk concert. And it's like you're getting a guy on here that doesn't always play folk music now. So, and I don't know. There is like a fine line of like, yes, he wants to play new music, but maybe a folk festival wasn't the place to debut it.
Right.
I mean, people were throwing like heavy things at them. So that was, but he played. I mean, he played those full three songs, like did
Yeah.
not care, which was, I don't know, beyond me. I think the thing that surprised me was the fact that he actually did go back on stage and play a folk song. Like after all that, I would have been like, nah, y'all could have y'all could have
Yeah.
supported my new music a little bit. Like why are we why are we feeling this way?
Right.
Yeah.
I cause like one of the things I found really interesting was he sings like a Rolling Stone at the end when
Hmm.
like they're throwing all this stuff at him. And that's like one of his best songs now. And it's like you're
Yeah.
literally like witnessing one of this artist's best songs ever and you're throwing shit at him. Like I don't know. It's crazy to me that people at a folk concert have were like so close-minded basically. And then I also thought it was weird that Pete Seeger was like, no, you can't sing new music. Like you're a
Yeah.
musician too, bro. Like what are you talking about? You can't change your style.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
Well, I think part of it was because when we saw him, like we saw that Pete Seeger had some sort of show, which I couldn't tell if it was on TV or if it was over the radio. Uh, but he had like his own show and it felt very like Mr. Rogers, like the way he spoke and everything. And I think they were trying to convey that it's a very clean. show, and he looked real nervous when oh, what was his name? Um oh, okay. He was okay, a fictional blues man. Okay. So yeah, like when Pete Seeger was having his show and the blues guy Jesse came on and started like drinking like freshly out of a bottle. He looked like really, really nervous. And then Bob Dylan shows up and he's smoking, drinks as well, and then they start playing their music instead of folk music. And like I think that was kind of like showing he's a little bit more clean cut, a little bit more like what they want to present America as. Especially in that time, especially in the 60s in the middle of war and stuff like that. They were trying to like keep the peace and uh yeah, like TV was different, music was different. Like um sorry, I'm trying to remember when something.
No problem.
Yeah,
I've
it
been
was just
Googling a lot myself
yeah, I'm
this
like over here.
entire time.
Like I think this was like at the start of like Elvis Presley, if not before then. Like it's just back when things were so clean. Because even when Elvis Presley started, he had to sing country
Yeah,
before he switched over to rock and roll as well. So, I mean, it's
that's true.
similar start for him. He started in folk. I think it said he sang a little bit of country as well. So yeah, it was just a different time. He's one of the artists that like wanted to break away from it and do something different and do something that mattered. At least I can assume that's what he wanted to do. I don't think they showed it, unfortunately. Yeah, like I think the story just lacked a little bit more depth, but it was still a good movie overall. And the music and the acting was very good. Just needed a little bit more drama, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would probably watch it again. Um,
Yeah.
maybe, but I do agree that it was a lacking a little bit of depth. It was very like surface level of what his life was like during that time.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it just felt like they were kind of stepping around a lot of information. And there may have been a reason for that. Maybe they didn't have like rights to tell certain parts of the story or like go into details about other things, but yeah, it was just missing a little bit more of the story and the drama. They really couldn't make the movie any longer though. I don't
That's
know if I
true.
could have sat longer for that.
I was actually surprised when I started watching it. I was like, this is long. I was like, I don't know why I didn't ex I need to be better at checking like run times of movies.
Yeah, I had a feel. I mean, most biopics I feel like tend to be a little bit long because they try to like shove like their entire life in there. But this was only like a 5 year span that they threw in there.
Hmm.
It is a little surprising about how long it is considering how little we got from it despite that.
Oh, also, I don't know if this is just me being like not good at catching. Because I knew that we were going through like a 5 year span, but there
Yeah.
were certain points where it was kind of hard to catch up on that we had gone to a new year.
Yeah, I feel like they only showed like once or twice the actual year. So it And yeah, maybe I missed that too, but I do feel like it was very hard to understand like when it was, unless like I think the festival signs had the years on it, but
Okay.
I wasn't paying that much attention.
Me either. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's probably on me, but also like if that's the only way to tell time was through the festival signs, that's not what I was looking at. I was looking at the main singer on the stage.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I agree. I do think like it was a little bit hard to like figure out when exactly it was. Couldn't really tell when he was in a relationship or who he was seeing. Yeah, like I wish they had gone a little bit more into the drama and the struggles and the strife of the music he was creating and why he wanted to create the music he wanted to create. I think that would have made it given it a little bit more drama and made it a little bit more entertaining because this was more of a let's just tell you it's almost like someone on the outside was writing this story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think this is supposed to be based on a book. Let me see if it's the same name. Okay, it's called Okay, so yeah, this is based on the book Dylan Goes Electric by Elijah Wald. Cannot talk. Is by Elijah Wald. Um I wonder if because I know I don't know that Bob Dylan had anything to do with this movie, to be honest. So that might be why we're lacking a little bit of
Well, yeah,
uh
that would make sense if he
information.
wasn't involved. Because I know like
Oh,
Elton John was like really heavily involved in the movie
no.
Rocket Man.
This said he was heavily involved.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah.
Interesting. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why a lot of information was left out.
Maybe.
I mean, if you have control, you only want the good things about you to.
Right.
Uh, um, yeah, no, Rocket Man was a very good movie as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I wish that had gotten more awards than it did too, because that was a very well made movie.
It still upsets me that Taron Egerton didn't get an Oscar for that movie.
No, I agree. He did an amazing job, and I think they like actually thinned out his hair to make him look like he was going like losing his hair and everything too. I would have been
Yeah.
afraid to do that, but no, I'm good.
Yeah, right. Ugh, gosh.
Yeah.
That's good to know that he was involved. I
Yeah, I
didn't.
don't know why. Like I got because I think they said that like he never met um I thought they said he never met Timothy Chalamet. So that's interesting that he is involved.
Yeah. I'd also, oh man,
Yeah, no, it says he is not met. That's interesting. Like how can you be
that
heavily
is
involved but never meet the actor who's playing you?
right.
I don't know. This is all Google, guys. Like who knows what's true and what's not.
That's like gotta suck though if you play somebody in a biopic and then you don't even get to meet them.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
It
damn.
it does say that like he's afraid to meet Dylan, but
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
yeah,
Gotcha, gotcha.
which is,
That's
fair.
fair. That is fair.
Yeah. I think if I played someone too, I'd be like, I don't
Uh,
know if you want
I'm
me to beat
literally
you.
the worst person at like meeting anybody that like I'm kind of a fan of. So I get that. I'm like the most socially awkward human being on the face of the planet.
Uh,
So
yeah,
yeah,
no,
I
same.
get it.
Like some people
Like, never
can
mind at
like,
all. I don't need to meet you. You
yeah.
don't need to be aware that I exist.
Yeah, you don't need to know that I'm a fan of yours. Like that's fine. Like no. Like
Yeah, exactly.
it always feels weird and like kind of like almost stalkerish to be like, "Oh, hi. I know all these deep dark secrets about you because you've written it in your music that you shared with everyone else, but it feels personal and I feel like I shouldn't know it, but I do know it and it feels like I know you because of this and now I'm meeting you and this feels weird."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like reading someone's diary and being like, "Hey, I'm a fan of your diary."
Right.
Like,
No, for real. And so the thing too is like so many people listen to music and
mhm.
like you're not going to listen to music and think of it through their point of view. You're going to listen to
Yeah.
music and relate it to how it's affected your own life.
Yeah.
And so like not only are you like meeting this person who wrote like their diary basically, but
Yeah.
you're also meeting this person who wrote their diary that's basically also your diary. So
Yeah.
it's like you have a really big emotional connection to it and you know, it's hard to explain that to somebody without like trauma dumping on them or just like being weird.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also
Yeah.
like just to think that like you feel so connected to somebody who's has no clue who
No.
you are is also like an
Yeah.
awkward thing to think about too. Is because it's like you finally meet someone and you're like, I know so much about you, and then they're like, I know nothing about
Yeah.
you.
Like literally don't know you at all.
Yeah, like I've never met you before in my life. Like I no, we're not connected. And it's like, yeah, no, you're right.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, no, it's that weird line. So I can totally understand. Like it's a little bit different for Timothy Chalamet, but like for him to like portray him and try to be him and then meet him afterwards would be so nerve-wracking.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because like I think they said that like what was it? There was like a movie Julie and Julia.
Yes. I love
Yeah,
the movie.
Julia Childs refused, like, or yeah, like when the actual Lady Julie, like Julia Child refused to meet her, which would be like heartbreaking. It's like you went
Oh yeah.
through her entire cookbook and loved this person, and like because of them, you were inspired and did all this stuff, and she refused to meet her, which is just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I could understand being scared to meet somebody.
You're right.
Like, ugh, no, I'm good.
Hmm.
They always say don't meet your heroes, right?
Right, yes.
All right. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of the Dive In. If you enjoyed today's deep dive, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. What should we dive into next? Let us know. Until next time, bye.